And if you didn't know, her hair is a glory unto her. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Today, we are going to be going over 3 different ways you can add in the crochet pre-loop locks. And also, I'll be going over a detailed parting guide and pro parting tips. So don't click away just yet. If this information can help you achieve great results and see how it is working with these products. Okay, so we're going to be using the FREETRESS brand. It is the BONA locks, I want to say, 34 inches. And then we're going to use the pre-fluted pop and twist in 16 inch. So I have my Shining Jam, the Neat Braid braiding gel, some got to be spray, and of course the comb, scissors, little clips or scrunchies you might need, and a crochet needle. So remember, I told y'all we were going to go over the basics for parting, and I just want to start off by saying when you're parting hair, you want to take your time, and you always want to reinforce your parts. You should go over it and over it and over it again until you get it to your liking or to whatever you feel like is good to go. Okay, so generally you want to start out in the nape area, and I'm just going to part her from ear to ear. And depending on the size braid that you're going for, you would know what width or what thickness you want to start your row. So we were going for like a medium size, not too big, not too small, but kind of in between. And go ahead and section off each row by braid or clip, scrunchie, whatever you prefer. Ear to ear, and I kept that same rotation all the way up to the ear and past the ear. So everyone has a different head size, so you may be able to fit more or less rows on certain people's heads. Now, as you're parting, you want to make sure you use a little bit of the product, whatever gel or jam you like, to reinforce your parts. You just add a little bit along your, I will call it a rough draft. So you do like a rough draft part at first just to map it out. And you also want to lift up the hair as you part, and just make sure that the width is making sense and is looking right. You always lift up each section of hair. All right, so I add that jam, I make sure I clean up the parts, and now what you see me doing, I'm just using a different style braid to section off the hair. It's nothing fancy here. I just wanted to move it, forward, just so I can map out everything that was going on. And if you notice right here, I'm starting to create that middle part. You really want to focus on the middle part as you move up closer to the top of the client's head, but you'll also notice that I'm still keeping that from ear to ear part and diagram. All right, so I just moved around to the front. Whenever you're doing the middle part, you want to move to the front and make sure that it's in the middle. Never be afraid to step around the client and make sure you have that on point. And now I'm getting up to the last couple of rows. So I just took that piece of hair and I split it pretty much in the middle. You may have a few triangular or different shape ones going towards the very middle of the head, so don't be alarmed if it's not like a square in the middle of the head. So as you see, mine is going to be kind of like a triangle shape, I say, but I'm just going to go ahead and section that off, and then we're going to be able to get right into installing these locks. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pin off all the other sections that I'm not working on, just so I can focus on one section. And I'm starting off with that nape part, and I'm going to split that down the middle. It's going to be 4 rows in the back. And again, depending on the client's head shape and the size of the braids that you're going for, this may vary, okay? If you're doing large, you may only do 2 in the back, or if you're doing small, you may end up doing a few more. So just go according to the style. And of course, I'm using that Shining Jam or the Neat Braid Gel to make sure that my sections and my braids are as sleek as possible. Okay, and I'm taking my time. I'm just doing a basic plait, 3-strand plait to the base of the scalp, and you'll see how we're going to use the crochet needle to crochet the locks onto the braid. And I am trying to go for that bricklayer effect, which is when you let one braid hang in between the previous part. So once I put this lock in, it should hang in between those other two braids, if that makes sense. And y'all, just in case you are new here and you haven't heard, of course, I just want to add that I do have a big family, okay? So y'all, don't be alarmed to some of the things that you see going on in the background, because they're very active and it's always a lot going on in my house. But I don't want to let that stop me from creating these awesome videos and giving you all this nice content. So just pay them no mind, y'all. You're going to see them back and forth, but I promise everything is under control. And now that I got those 2 rows braided, I'm just going to take my crochet needle and I'm going to begin to add those crochet locks. Okay, I'm adding in the locks. I stick it in between the base of the plait that I did. And I take that loop that's on the lock and I add it to the end of the crochet needle. Then you're going to close the crochet needle and pull the lock through the base of the braid. Once you get that pulled through, you're going to take the end of the client's hair and you're going to loop that back through the lock. And once you have that done, we're just going to let the client's hair hang right alongside of the locks, and I'll show you how we're going to wrap that shortly. So moving on up to, I think I'm on about the 3rd row. I'm just keeping the same techniques that I told you earlier, using that gel or shining jam to make sure you clean up your parts and smooth out your sections. And then this time, instead of using the crochet needle, what we're going to do, we're going to actually braid in that lock. That's right. Just like if this was a piece of braiding hair, I'm going to form it as if it was some regular canicoline braiding hair, and I'm going to braid the lock in. So most of these locks are pretty soft and they should be really easy to braid in. I can't say that for this one, they were a little bit thicker than I would prefer. So it did make the base where the braid was seem fairly thick. And this method is going to be the second way I'm adding in the crochet hair. So the first one was the crochet needle. This one just the regular braid in, and I take and wrap the hair at the ends as I finish off the braid. And this one is going to be number 2 at just braiding the lock in. And then I'll show you the 3rd one, which is also going to be braiding the lock in, but in a different format. And I gotta say, out of all 3, I really think that the 3rd one that I'll show you all was the best option. So again, I just braided this braid in, and I'm braiding that right on down to the end, and I'll just twist it if I have any left over. And you just want to keep this same technique going. So now we're getting closer and closer to the top of the head, which means we're getting closer to getting done. And so for this technique, this is going to be the 3rd one that I feel like was the most beneficial. I'm just taking that loop, I scratched it open, and I parted off that braid, the section for that braid, into 3 different pieces. I took that loop and I slid it onto the middle piece. And then I'm just going to braid just like I would braid any traditional braid. All right. And as I braid on, I'm just going to take that lock and I'm going to add it in with the braid, if that makes sense. So the lock that was hanging away, I just added that in with the braid, and I'm just going to braid on just like a regular braid, just like if you were doing a knotless or just a traditional plait. This is a very simple and easy way to add the locks in without a crochet needle. So if you ever find yourself you can't find a crochet needle and you really need to get the style done, this will be a nice option for you. Or if you don't like using the crochet needle, maybe they hurt the clients, this is another option you can use. And as you can see, it has a lot of mobility. I'm moving it around, just making sure that it's nice and tight at the base. And I'm just going to continue this actually for the rest of the head. So I just scratch open that loop and I slip it on that middle part after I parted 3 sections, okay? And then I'm just gonna braid on like a regular braid. And as I turn my hand, I add that lock in with the braid and continue to braid on like a regular braid until you get to the ending of the client's natural hair. All right, so I'm gonna keep braiding down and braiding down until there's no more of the client's natural hair for me to braid with. All right, so now once I got all my locks in, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the wrapping. All right, and I'm just gonna take that hair and I'm gonna cut it in half. You can cut it in half or in 3. You can use smaller pieces. So I'm gonna take one end of that wrapping hair and about halfway, or I would say about to the length of where the client's hair stopped at, you're gonna have one hand in the left hand or the right, depending on if you lefty or righty. You're gonna hold the hair in one hand and then you're gonna start wrapping it with the other hand. And you wanna start wrapping it right at that base, nice and snug, okay? Not so tight that the client would be in pain, but snug enough that everything is coming together and that it's looking nice and clean. Wanna make sure that it's in there pretty and fairly tight. And I'm just gonna keep wrapping. I'm using my thumb and my pointer on the left side just to help me catch and grab that hair as I use the right hand to help wrap it around. And I just continue wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. If you run out of hair as you're wrapping, you just grab another piece of the wrapping hair and do the same thing where you left off at. You hold half of the hair and you continue to wrap with the rest. Then I just take that Got To Be spray and I spray it on the very end. This helps locks in the piece that you're wrapping. Some people do use a nail glue or maybe a lighter. Whatever works best for you. I do recommend trying it out different ways just so you can see what you like best. All right, and I'm just steady wrapping. I'm using the hair and I'm wrapping. I did this for all of the locks, okay? Regardless of which way we installed it, I used the same technique when it came to wrapping the base. You just want to make sure that you wrap it enough to cover the client's natural hair. And don't forget to spray that Got To Be spray because you really want to lock that hair in. And this client, she liked her hair super tight, so she was insisting that I wrapped it really tight for her at the base. So I tried my best to do just that without causing any pain or damage. And here we are with the final results. The parts are so clean. And I mean, just overall in general, the style, it came out so nice. I really did enjoy working with this FREETRESS brand hair. And it's just so pretty and just super, super clean. And if you're wondering, I did her parts in the first rows just a little bit bigger. And this is so that I won't pull at her edges too tight. Okay, I don't want a skinny braid hanging from her edges. I wanted to move that part back a little bit to give more leverage for the braid to hang on. And the locks are very lightweight, so I wasn't too worried. As you get a closer view, you'll see that the front row right here, I did the parts a little bit further back just so she wouldn't have too much tension on her edges. But y'all, this is the final look. Again, I hope you all were able to get some type of information or inspiration from this video. Please consider subscribing so you won't miss the next one. We have so much more in store. So much more to share with you all. And can y'all tell she was really feeling herself? Look, all that swinging and carrying on. Yeah, she really loved her hair. Bless you for watching.